the charity Oxfam has apologised for putting out an animated video that appeared to show a caricature of JK Rowling. So if you see the clip, it shows essentially a kind of modern-day witch with red eyes. She's got a turf badge. She's got a snarling face. She's pointing at LGBT people, looking menacing. Candice, why is this a charity, an international development charity, going after the author of Harry Potter?
This is what everyone's saying, but weirdly to me, I was not surprised because I just feel like if they're Oxfam, and this is what I guess we're talking about, there's no real political idiosyncrasy anymore. So I absolutely 100% expect for Oxfam to have a certain perspective on it. I mean, I was very surprised by just how cartoonish and basic it was, but I would be so surprised if I heard that they were in support of JK Rowling. And I think it's to do with everything we've been talking about. But I mean, they really did make themselves look very, very, very stupid because so many people questioned what they were doing. I think more people on the left who have sort of, I think, have been quite surprised at the opposition they've received for their support for JK Rowling. And I think it showed just how silly some of the opposition to JK Rowling is, how they see her. They see her as some kind of ogre, some kind of monster. And I think it reveals more about them than it actually reveals about her, that suddenly overnight she became this beloved children's author, and then suddenly she was just this witch who wants to persecute trans people.
Yeah, the demonisation of her is one of the strangest phenomena of our times, isn't it?
No, completely. And also, you think this was brought out presumably to mark Pride Month.
Yeah.
You think about all the things that are going on in the world right now in relation to gay rights. You think about new law in Uganda. You think about all the various countries around the world in which, if not illegal, it's certainly a risky business to be a member of the LGBT community. And they seem to have decided that JK Rowling, thinking that male rapists shouldn't be allowed in women's prisons, is the issue that you need to talk about in one way, shape or form. It's ridiculous. I mean, it would be ridiculous even if she was a less reasonable critic than she actually is. But that just shows you how central JK Rowling has become as a witch, as a folk devil. And the thing about panics like this, where someone just becomes a sort of target for mad demonisation, is it often takes light of the facts. I mean, you can find yourself in so many arguments online or off where you ask people to present any evidence of this alleged transphobia on JK Rowling's part. They're incapable of actually doing so because they don't actually know. She just serves a kind of purpose, which is to try and essentially draw a line under this argument at all, to say don't go near it, to say this is what will happen to you if you dare try to raise even more eminently reasonable concerns about the extremities of gender ideology. So it's not surprising at this point, but it is so odd. And if you think this witch hunt has really got really out of control, if we're getting to the point where she has kind of, even as you say, Oxfam seems to feel the need to get involved, even whilst prompting a fair bit of backlash in doing so.
I mean, she's literally become Voldemort, hasn't she? She's she who cannot be named. And, you know, even if you look at the way that posters have been put up saying, I heart JK Rowling, those had to be taken down. Or Gillian Phillip, the children's author, says, expressed her solidarity with JK Rowling and was immediately sacked and now works as a lorry driver, been hounded out of children's literature. Even just the mention of her name, the mention of that you vaguely support her gender critical views is enough to, set people's hairs on edge.
It does worry me, and I do wonder how much social media plays in this, these sort of social media outrages that stifle any sort of debate and kind of enforce, even if it's not on purpose, but it's everyone piling on someone at once, this sort of political conformism. And I mean, JK Rowling's been incredible. I mean, in the Witch Trials of JK Rowling, the podcast she did with Megan Phelps-Roper, she said, I was happy to come off my pedestal, which I think is an incredible attitude. I mean, most people could not withstand that type of heat, but she is able to. I mean, people say that she has the material wealth to do so, but I think emotionally it would be hard for a lot of people to become such a figure of hate. But then what she's done is absolutely incredible. And that's my big worry about the era that we live in now. People aren't really able to develop a strong sense of self and to say, this is what I truly believe and this is what I think. Because if they do divert in any way from a certain set of political beliefs, they'll be piled on like JK Rowling is.
And there's another case of that this week, which has made the news because, as we've been talking about, JK Rowling's often used as a kind of foil in the cancel culture argument. They say cancel culture isn't real because you always cite JK Rowling as a victim of it. She's the wealthiest author in the world. How has she been cancelled and so on? The point is you can't cancel JK Rowling, but the demonization of her sends a message to people further down the pecking order to keep their mouth shut or else. We saw that with Gillian Phillip. The other case this week is this woman who's known as Maria. She's not given her real name. She's done an interview with Judy Bindel where she was working at Oxfam. So it's another Oxfam example, which is incredible, where she's working, I think, in the sort of women's rights part of the charity. And someone had suggested on an internal message board that they remove all the Harry Potter books from the Oxfam bookshops because she's obviously such a monster. She took issue with this, and that set in train a series of allegations, complaints, and so on, which ended up with her losing her job. This is a couple of years ago in 2020. So the dynamic here is absolutely clear. Like, cancel culture is not a threat to JK Rowling. How could it be? She is the CEO of JK Rowling Inc. They can't take Harry Potter away from her as much as they might like to, including the actors from those films. But at the same time, you know, even people, quite successful people in their own respects, can easily be bitten by this. So it's just such a striking example, I think. And also, we should say of Oxfam, I mean, get your own house in order. I mean, it was 5 years ago. They were very credibly accused of covering up sexual exploitation amongst aid workers of victims of the Haiti earthquake and so on. They've had a string of scandals. They had the Charity Commission, I think, suspended them for a period or put them under kind of special measures on safeguarding grounds. And they think they've got the moral authority to have a pop at a woman whose great heresy is to say that maybe you shouldn't allow a person with a penis into a women's changing room. It's ridiculous, but there we go.
Well, yeah, that is, I mean, it is the great heresy of our time.
It is. But what was incredible is the way that they backed off so quickly when they faced just a little bit of scrutiny, which tells me, I wonder how confident they actually were in their own beliefs, that they were just like piling on because it's easy to do it and there's not really much risk for them. But now actually maybe there is a bit because there's actually a real opposition now.
Yeah, and the other thing, I suppose, is that, you know, Tommy, you're saying they've not been able to, they've not succeeded in cancelling JK Rowling, but they want to. They really, really want to. So it's very disingenuous to claim that, you know, as not an example of cancel culture.
Yes. I think she's absolutely incredible. I would encourage anyone to listen to the podcast that she's done so that you can really listen to the reasoning behind her beliefs and why she thinks what she thinks. And I think that people will understand that this is an incredible, thoughtful woman. She's the same thoughtful woman that she's always been. She hasn't changed. You know, there's not some Disney cartoon. She's not suddenly turned into a witch. Actually, what she's doing, I think, is really socially valuable.